Okay, hello everybody. This is Sharonda, and this is my podcast, Spiritual Sense, as well as my YouTube channel, Spiritual Sense. And today is December the 4th, which is a Saturday of 2021. And as I promised earlier in the day when I did my tarot card reading, that I was going to speak on a topic because I get ideas for my spiritual sense. I want to give clarity to those who may be tuning in or will be tuning in or listening in on the podcast or the webinar. This is not this podcast and this webinar is not a religious, quote unquote, webinar or podcast. I'm not affiliated with no particular religion, church, or belief system. I consider myself to be spiritual, a spiritualist. I'm into spiritualism, so to speak. So what that means is I don't affiliate with no particular denomination, church or religion or particular practice. The things that I do can go across the board over a battery of many different religious beliefs or practices. Okay, so I don't associate myself with not one specific particular religion or practice. Okay, so I also need to explain that. Also, this podcast is an open social discussion for those individuals out there that may be interested in, getting the conversation started in regards to things that I would consider to be the paranormal. Um, and, typically people don't want to speak on such topics because, it would be considered to be foolish or mental ill or crazy or whatever the case may be. But once you have matured spiritually um, along your spiritual path and receive that enlightenment, God will make it apparent to you what exactly that is and how a lot of the information that you may see that is written or even spoken that is to be deciphered. And this is outside of your common knowledge or um, common sense or common knowledge. So in a sense, it's a language that is understood but not spoken, so to speak. Okay, so with that being said, today's topic is spiritual manifestation. I did a podcast episode when I mentioned about spiritual transition, and what I mean by that is to actually transition and transcend from this time and space to the next in regards to death. Now, a transition doesn't necessarily always have to be in terms of death. I mean, you could have a spiritual renewing where the spirit is restored or repaired or renewed to a time before or improvement. And give me a moment, let me get this adjusted. Okay, so that would be considered a let's see, a spiritual renewing, okay, in regards to the spirit. Where a person has reached that point of epiphany and enlightenment from God or whatever the supreme being belief system or faith-based belief person or figure is to them, and have received some information from a source or sources outside of, this physical natural RAM that we're dealing with in terms of science and logic and reasoning is what I'm getting. Apart from that, okay? So that, in a sense, is what I consider to be a spiritual knowing or awakeness or a epiphany, okay? Today's topic is spiritual manifestation. And I give you a definition as to what I feel spirit manifestation is. I have pulled up some information here that I feel like is closely similar to what I mean when I say manifest. Manifest is to what? When things come into place, come into focus, when you begin to manifest something, when it comes into focus. And I did jot it down some notes as such as to my reasoning and what God has revealed to me. Many people may say God doesn't speak to us. That's a lie. God does speak to us. And you will be very surprised as to who Satan really is. I feel as though, this is my personal opinion, it's one and the same. Be it may, it's one and the same. Okay. Now let me begin. So in terms of spiritual manifestation, so I mentioned earlier when I did a daily reading that when you're curious or you have inquired about some things in life and you have consulted with God about things that you needed some answers, some insight, some clarity about, how he can make things, your thoughts will pan out in the atmosphere. So that's what I mean when I say spiritual manifestation, like you would actually see the thoughts in the atmosphere. And once you have matured spiritually, you have gotten older in life, he would encourage you, or he would seal things to where you would keep certain things on the inside, so you will begin to know what that is. If this somebody's trying to play along on my intelligence, is this something somebody's just trying to show out to gain my my attention, or is this actually being done under his guidance? So once you have become old enough, you'll be able to be put in enough situations to where you wouldn't know. Like it would pan out as if you was watching the TV. I kid you not. It will pan out right before your eyes as if you are watching a movie or a sitcom or something. And that's when you would know this is spirits. It's something to take note of in this situation. This is something that God wants me wanted to be conveyed, and something to take note of in regards to whatever the situation may be. And you will begin to see it right there before your eyes, like it would actually manifest right there before your eyes. Now, I also like to state, because I noticed that I have, I did just throw this shirt on. Please don't take no notes to this company. It just so happened that I have this shirt on, and you probably wouldn't have known it if I didn't say anything about it. Okay. All right. But I have no affiliation with the company at all. So I just want that to be known as well. So with that being said, I am going to proceed with the website that I have pulled up here that mentions about spiritual manifestation. So it says, and I'm going to I'm going to try not to read verbatim because I did not write the content on this website. It says spiritual manifestation is the term given to manifestations. And just for a moment, but it looks like my tablet, as soon as I go to speak, decides to go blank. Okay, which affect the overall state and structure of the mental and physical manifestations around you for an infinite period of time. Examples of this include bliss, enlightenment, salvation, the favor of God, granting of paradise, hell, etc. Below you will find some basic understandings of spiritual manifestation. And so again, that's why I decided to go on this particular or speak on this particular topic using this particular website, because it most closely fits to what I have been experiencing for, pretty much my lifetime, but it has really hit the forefront for almost the last 20 years now. So it says 1, spiritual manifestation is a specific system of manifestation which only allows certain possibilities. In other words, it is a system which only allows certain mental and physical manifestations to take place. When the spiritual system is in place or gains a foothold, it will become impossible to step outside the system and create whichever manifestation you please. Whichever manifestation you please. For example, a devout Muslim or Jew will find it impossible to drink alcohol, and they would never even come into a position where alcohol is on offer. This occurred because they have a system of spiritual manifestation in place, which is only certain physical and mental manifestations to arise. There are no physical manifestation of alcohol, and there are no mental manifestations through urges, desires, or curiosity. It goes on to say the situation can also be reversed in that someone who cannot resist alcohol and always has alcohol around them has a different spiritual manifestation and system of physical and mental manifestation. The alcohol and its consumption is always present, and it will become impossible not to have alcohol or imagine what it would be like without it. So, and I do believe that in a sense, it's kind of like, what I mentioned about the book, The Secret, or the documentary, The Secret, where, whatever your mind is geared to is where you will go to. So, and it's more or less like cause and effect, or, synchronicity, if you may, or serendipity. If evil, it should be, that evil, it will be. Depends on how you look at it, because when you are being realistic about a situation, and you have learned to adapt to a situation just to have a person to come and have you do ABC, even ABC all the way to Z, and then they come with something else. Give it 3 times, so to speak. Boom, boom, boom. 3 strikes you out, sort of deal. We all have that ability to, reason and cause and effect. And before I say that, before I call a spade, I want to go through my trial and error, or, test the spirits and things of that nature. We all have that capability of doing that. Don't always, prejudge a situation as such, because it could be this, could be that. But when you find yourself in situations where you're constantly finding excuses for some of the similar or same things, sometimes you got to call a spade, so to speak. So essentially, I understand what it means when it says that, if those are your weaknesses as a test, then you will be put towards those weaknesses. Catch my drift? So to speak. But then when when you have went through this long enough or enough, then it's time to start, when you have did all you could do. Okay, did all you can do in terms of, change. Because you will find, just put it this way. I'm the type of person, I put it this way. When a person has something, does not like the way you look physically, whether it's your hair or your size or whatever the case may be, the problem is not with you. The problem is with that person. And when you begin to tell on his or her thoughts, that is something that they need to be concerned about. That's their problem and their issue. And when you begin to, study and pay attention to people who are like this, oftentimes you'll find these people are battling some type of deviancy, lack, inadequacy, something in their life that they need to deal with, or they feel in some type of way or inadequate or intimidated by. You catch my drill? So I think in reference to me, because me being a heavier woman or plus size woman or a fuller figured woman, many people don't like that. However, I'm not concerned about what people like and don't like. And when you are somebody that is strong will and strong mind, people don't like that. They want somebody who they can dump, use, and abuse. But then on the, when you sit back and let them do you in a kind of way, then they'll say, well, then, why you let that happen? This is how you would know that you are in the company of demonic spirits. Plain and simple. If you did A, it'll say go do B. You do B, it said, well, why didn't you finish up A? If you say yin, it say yang. If you say yang, it say yin. So you just got to learn how to diffuse a lot of that negative energy. And I know that a lot of what I'm saying may be far-fetched. That's just the way it is. Plain and simple. Because we all can sit back and find something to nitpick about. We can all sit back and find something to whine about. We can all sit back and find something that doesn't just seem right. Plain and simple. We all can do that. People get angry and upset when you will not allow them to come in your life and control you. Just for them to turn around and say, you weak. I don't have time for Satan in his drama. I don't. And this is how come I, forefront her drama. Because as I mentioned, demonic spirits don't have no respect of person. When I go out into the communities and stuff, I don't try to dominate people. At least I try not to. People somehow feel compelled to want to present some type of energies that are not there. When I come to do something, I come to do that, and then I move forward. Whatever you feel, whatever you got going on, that's you. That has nothing to do with me. When you are like that, it breaks a lot of people down. That's how God will let you know you're dealing with demons. If I come into a restaurant or I come to a store to buy something, what does that have to do with what you're buying? The store got 1,000 of the same things that I might pick up a few that you got. So what is the big deal with you? Because you feel like you need to be acknowledged, and then the time somebody comes around, you're supposed to take a red carpet and roll it out, and like they at the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever the case may be. God will let it be apparent that these are what? Demonic spirits. Who lack. There's an inadequacy. Or they get to feeling good about themselves, and then they want to come around and he said these are demons. And you're gonna see it in all races. You're gonna see it and I'm excuse me, because there's no such thing as races. Race, you're gonna see it in all different race. Okay. You're gonna see it in both genders. It has no respect of person. You will see these things. You will see them. Next, and you're going to find that a lot of these people that have these attitudes, they put them in certain fields and locations as such. They put them on certain jobs and in certain communities. Plain and simple. They want life about them, woo, 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 and all this other stuff. God had to show me these are considered jealousy. And let me look up the term jealousy, because whenever I bring up that word jealousy, I always get presented with somebody that want to go show me some things that they got. First of all, jealousy, feeling or showing envy of someone or their achievements and advantages. Let me explain something to you. There is a difference between jealousy and envy. A jealous person will hurt you. A jealous person will try to kill you. A jealous person will try to harm you. They may not do it with their own means, by their own hands, but they are very deceptive and will cause it as a result of that jealousy to perpetuate violence. Like as I mentioned, yesterday when I did my podcast, spiritual sense podcast, when I mentioned about throwing a rock and hiding a hand. Envy is when a person desires something that someone else wants. We all feel envy. That's normal. But when it gets to the point where a person feels the need to try to harm and demean and shame somebody because of something that they got that they want, that's jealousy. And typically when you find people that are like that and you tell them so, the first thing they want to do is holler about things and something that they got. That has nothing, that's a superficial person. Okay? Feeling or showing suspicion of someone's unfaithfulness in a relationship. Okay? Synonym: distrustful, mistrustful, suspicious. My definition of jealousy is not that. There's nothing wrong with someone being suspicious of someone who they may feel as though they're being to be made foolish. Okay. To me, jealousy involves the Jezebel spirit. Like the Jezebel spirit to me is a jealous spirit. It's a spirit to where a person feels compelled to cause harm, injury, and danger to someone. And it may not necessarily be physical harm. It could be emotional harm, or mental harm to a person in order to get what they want. So you don't necessarily have to lay your hands on somebody to, possess a jealous or Jezebel spirit, is what I'm getting at. Okay. Fiercely protective or vigilant of one's right or possessions. I don't consider that to be jealous at all. My thing of jealousy, I don't have my definition of jealousy is far different than this. Jealousy is when a person feels the need to try to harm you and keep you from having anything. That's what jealousy is. Even if that's just basically what it is. That's basically what it is. Envy is something different. We all would envy something, and if you can't get it, okay, whatever. But when a person becomes quote unquote competitive to where they would go through means that would be considered rational. You want to argue, you want to discredit, you try to scandalize somebody's reputation and devour them, and those things are the traits and the characteristics of a jealous person, which essentially goes under a Jezebel spirit. And focusing back on the spiritual manifestation, I'm just going to touch bases on Jezebel spirit for a minute. It has no respect of person. That's the point. No particular gender, no particular race, no particular attractiveness. If that is a word, it has nothing to do with capability. A Jezebel spirit can be inhabited by anybody, plain and simple. It's a very controlling, manipulative, deviant spirit is what a Jezebel jealous spirit is. Now, you could be over, you have some people that may experience it from time to time. You may have somebody where it rains and they being like, this is what they vice is like. This is some obsessive compulsion with it, to where it will drive them insane and drive you insane, and they will cause harm to you. That's what that is, okay? So we're going to proceed, but to get back to spiritual manifestation in terms of what it speaks about, yes, oftentimes, how you view things and where you are in life. If you're positive, chances are you will be put towards positivity. If you're negative, chances are you may be put towards negativity. But that's not always the case, because you may have times where, and I just have to be specifically realistic about things. Simple as that. You may have times where, if you are dealing with a jealous spirit, your positivity makes them angry. If you are able to pick up on fakeness, sometimes people will get angry when they know when it's superficial, when it's not real, so to speak, when a person is not authentic in how they feel. So that is totally different than actual jealousy. Like if a person approaches you and you already have, God has already put in your psyche, in your third eye, that this person is here for something totally different than what they're trying to portray. So that there is different, if in terms of what I mentioned about jealousy, and in terms of physical, or spiritual manifestation. Okay. Now, and let me pull this back up. So number 2, it says a spiritual manifestation system is always in place. That is, regardless of whether you are alive, dead, or even born, there is still a system of spiritual manifestation in place. During your lifetime, the spiritual manifestation system will influence what can and what cannot happen in your life. You should therefore be aware of your spiritual system, because it may create barriers in your life which are impossible to overcome, where you personally desire none. So it mentions about order, the laws of mind system now, which is something that they got here about how to master your mind for manifestation, how to unlock the immense power of the subconscious mind, how to manifest through wealth, happiness, and success, how to turbocharge manifestation with exercises and tools, secrets, tips, and strategies to increase manifestations and more. Okay. Number 2, in regards to physical manifestations, I do feel as though your thoughts can manifest out into the atmosphere. If you're a positive person, a lot of times you can be presented with positivity. However, that is not the case all the time, because that's what mockery will come into place, particularly when you're dealing with some people that are jealous. As I mentioned, they don't want to see it no other way besides the way they want to see it, meaning If you try to come and be of assistance or of service to them, there's still going to be that pushback, of things that's beyond your control. Or if you may have a situation where, you're on the inside, and you may feel the energy, as I just mentioned, of the people that are approaching you, and you may feel as though, oh my gosh, this is negativity that's coming towards me, and you don't want to deal with it because you can foresee where it is heading and what the objective or the ulterior motive is. Okay. So number 3, spiritual manifestation cannot be reversed or undone. Once the manifestation has taken place, you must live with that manifestation and change your situation subject to it. This is common sense, but worth stating because life is always progressing, and so too are your manifestations. Your power lies in being able to progressively change your life one step at a time. There is no such thing as a sudden change, but only gradual ones. Okay. Your spiritual manifestation, as it mentions here, it says it cannot be changed. I do not believe that. I do believe that a lot of it is based on the spirit as well as the mind. You have to work on the spirit, in turns work on the mind, and you begin to see how that change in the spirit and the mind will manifest out into the atmosphere. Okay. Sometimes it may take moving away from a situation to get that positive reinforcement of what's in the mind and versus in the spirit. So that's something to take note of as well. Spiritual manifestation is always both physical and mental together. In other words, it is not just mental or just physical. The two occur together and reinforce one another. This means that spiritual understanding is only spiritual when met with the appropriate actions and vice versa. To simply have a spiritual understanding with no physical action, it's not the spiritual level you think it is. To determine your spiritual level, you can therefore to determine your spiritual level can therefore be defined as the system of actions and thoughts you perform the most. I do believe that it takes action to your words. Once you pray to God, whoever your supreme being be, you have to act upon those desires, meaning you have to forefront and get up and take initiative to whatever that vision is. If you have a mission that you want to accomplish and to get on your mission, you have to have first a vision to get towards that mission. So it takes some work. You can't just sit around and say, okay, I want these things, and then you don't get up and try to make these things happen or allow those things to manifest. So it's going to take some physical work to have it to come into place for you. Oftentimes, God will show you, He will show you in other people what your foresight is. Like He would have shown you things as a little girl as to what is going to manifest in your reality. And I'll give you an example as to what I mean when I say that. I'm going to finish up what is listed here in regards to spiritual manifestation. So spirit, it says what to expect in conclusion. So spiritual manifestation cannot be ignored since they can limit the mental and physical manifestations which you can have. It is okay to not be spiritual per se, but a spiritual element is always playing a role in the manifestation in your life. Okay, you can take that how you want to take it, in terms of not wanting to be spiritual, meaning if you don't want to believe in a God, and that's essentially because you have a lot of, I guess you would say that would be considered right, because you do have a lot of people who doesn't believe what popular belief is. However, they somehow seem to be successful people. or, people out here who are deemed to be quote unquote atheists and don't believe in a God and don't follow all of the, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, so to speak. However, things have been manifested to them and they have what? Have always been kept. And then you have people that follow everything to the T and everything seems to fall apart on a consistent basis. So this is what we want to start focusing on and get a clarity and an understanding as to, that maybe some of these things are the reason there is a parent of the two in a lot of these so-called relationships, but that's nothing against relationships, okay? So getting back to what it was saying in reference to the physical as well as the mental together with spiritual manifestation. So he will begin to show you when you have your flashback. So you have that aha moment and hindsight come into focus for you. He put the seeds in you, and you will begin to see, okay, in this time and space, what that is. He will also put precognition as well as foresight into this time and space. So you'll begin to see where you came from and where you're headed in this time and space. He will. And oftentimes, you could just sit there and it would just plan out. And it's just as similar as if you was watching TV. That's why I mentioned the TV is, this life experience is just like watching the TV screen. If you begin to look at life on a higher, bigger scale, I've been trying to reach you since you was a little girl. And you will begin to see that all things are of God, whether it be favorably or unfavorably, and how it is to face it. I mentioned that again, a revelation came to me when, I mentioned that I woke up out of my sleep and it kept saying two-headed snake, two-headed snake, two-headed snake, which in turn is the conducive sign. The conducive sign is a cross, which is the medical sign, which has the two snakes. And that's when he forefronted to me and perpetuated me into speaking on certain things. And that's how I would know when something is about to manifest and something is about to happen. So I mentioned earlier when I did my daily reading about evolution. When people begin to wonder, where did we come from and how does things happen and this, that, and other? And that's when it became apparent to me that he would show it to you in animals. He would show it to you in, if you begin to take note of animals, he would enlighten you how we came into existence as people and how the mutation come about and the different languages come about and why these people are over here versus these people over here, and how did we get over here, and what, he will also make it apparent to you about coding systems and how a lot of things are written in such a manner to protect the integrity as well as the dignity of certain people. And when you begin to receive that inclination, he will seal you to keep you from saying exactly what it is. Because some people will get angry and they will try to harm you. So in many instances, it may be best to not be right all the time. And what I mean by that is just keep it to yourself. Because as he put that an image in my head some time ago about the box, the covenant on the box. And there was an inclination to me, what I reveal to you, you keep it on the inside, because everybody do not need to know this, what the truth really is. and let them who choose not to listen walk around foolishly because they have no clue whatsoever. And why the English language was formulated the way it was. And even with the languages being formulated, it's still a language that is understood but not spoken, even within the language. And that's every language. And that's where the formulation of dialects come from. Okay? So it's the true meaning of what the original language is. That revelation will come to Psalm. Hallucination. So I'm going to look up this word hallucination because you will begin to understand why a lot of things formulate the way it does. So I'm going to look up this word hallucination and working in with the mental illness and stuff. God had to reveal to me that so-called mental illness and hallucination and delusions, this is what you tell them. Who is them? Those who don't know, those who think they know it all. Because they don't understand spirituality and they don't understand what people have went through during those times, as such as now. You just put that down there and let them believe how they want to believe, because everybody don't want to hear that. And some people will try to harm you when you tell them the truth. Plain and simple. So as defined here, it says hallucination, an experience involving the apparent perception of something not present. You have synonyms such as delusion, illusion, vision, apparition, mirage, chimera, fantasy, dream, daydream, delirium. Let's see, it has phantasmagoria, phantasm. So you got different types of hallucinations. You have your auditorial the hallucination, false perception of sound, music, noises, or voices. Gustatory and false perception of taste. Olfactory hallucination, a false perception of odor or smell. Somatic or tactile hallucinations, and false perception of sensation or touch or something happening in or on the body. Now, when you begin to listen to this and pay attention, oftentimes it tells on something that is going on with this person medically. It could be environmental wise. The food is old, or the food is expired, or the medication is old or expired, or, it's saying something without saying. And, this is how God will allow things to be covered up as to what's going on with the situation. So it could very well be that. Also, we want to enlighten. I would like to enlighten you as well in terms of the spirit. This is how it happens. Just in case nobody has told you so. This is it. And this is how God happens. Plain and simple. And so, you have spiritual hallucination, or what they would consider to be, on the inside or in the mind. This is God alerting you by way of the hallucination, what it is. Similar to if a person, OD'd on drugs or took drugs or whatever, and they begin to, have hallucinations and things of that nature. Even though drugs is not the right thing to use, it's the same way of, taking, prescription drugs and abusing them as well. But the point that I'm getting to is hallucination. God will enlighten you on some things by way of the hallucination. Some things that he wants you to keep on the inside. Like it will become apparent to you. Oh, now I get what it's saying. So you are simply saying something without saying it. Oh, that's what they mean when they say slow. so to speak. They will simply show you how certain people don't know what they're doing, and they have been what? Set in stone. It's kind of like they can't change if they wanted to. It is a curse. And a lot of people don't believe in curses. You don't have to believe in curses, but curses are real. You can call it what you want, and you can give a scientific definition to it. You can give a spiritual definition to it. Curses are real. They are. But as I mentioned, in terms of spiritual manifestation, meaning your thoughts being shown to you in the atmosphere, he will do that. Plain and simple. So in getting back to spiritual manifestation, I think I'm going to close out this presentation today in regards to spiritual manifestation. But this is something that you don't want a lot of people to know, because many people will begin to start to think otherwise, particularly when they are so fixated and filled with their own personal desires and their own feelings and such. They don't want to hear it otherwise. And they begin to hear things that are not there, and they begin to see things that are not there. I'm telling you what that is. You would know when something is of God. Meaning, and when I say that, meaning you would know when it is a message versus somebody's own agenda. You catch my drift? Like if it's right versus wrong, if it's God versus not God, so to speak. Ultimately it's all God, but you will know where it's coming from. It's the point. The intent behind it is what I'm getting at in terms of spiritual manifestation. Okay? So I am going to close out this spiritual manifestation podcast under my spiritual sense, as well as my spiritual sense webinar. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can put them in the comment section. Please note inappropriate questions, comments, or suggestions. And until then, you have a safe and wonderful day. Good day.